Jack Catterall versus Jorge Linares. 12 rounds in the junior welterweight division, 140 pounds. Catterall will be looking to continue his winning ways in the right direction and get back to a possible title shot down the road. So let's get into it. Let's start with Catterall. 27 wins, 1 loss, 13 wins by way of knockout. I have to say I wasn't too sure what to think about Jack Catterall. I've been hearing about him for a while. Back in 2017, right? Watched a few videos, but I still wasn't sure what to think. I needed to see a little bit more. He's a guy that is a good dual threat. He can box on the outside and he can bang on the inside. Doesn't have a crazy amount of knockouts per se, but he is a physical guy, right? He's got good power in his shots. Like the man can fight. The man can fight. When he fought O'Hara Davies, for as much as they were talking back and forth between the two men, it wasn't as much of an exciting fight as the build up to that fight. Neither man really wanted to be the aggressor. Catterall's right hand was on point that night, and he landed the more eye-catching shot. And I'd say he controlled much of the range for the greater portion of that fight. But a solid win on his resume on his way up in the rankings. So last year, he steps into the ring with Josh Taylor, undisputed at 140 pounds, right? So I'm not going to lie. I thought Josh Taylor was going to have his way in this fight against Catterall. Didn't think it was going to be an easy fight, but I thought he was going to come out on top. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Catterall wasn't really on Josh Taylor's resume per se. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I thought it was a mandatory fight, but he didn't want to take it, right? I don't remember the ins and outs of it. Let me know if I'm right or I'm off in this one. But when the fight started, man, Catterall was piecing Taylor up. I mean, he was serving Taylor chicken piece combinations, right? With the fries and the drink. You know what I'm saying? Like Catterall was doing damage with the same shot. The simple but effective 1-2, boom, 1-2. It was getting through. Boom, 1-2. It was getting through. And sometimes he would add a third or a fourth shot, but everything stemmed from the jab. And Catterall was really boxing beautifully in that fight. Josh Taylor was trying to use his physical presence, his physicality to his advantage to change the tempo of the fight. But man, it didn't work. You ever try something in life, right? And it just didn't work. It worked for other people, but for whatever reason, it didn't work for you. It didn't work for Josh Taylor on this night. At one point, Josh Taylor tried to push his shoulder into Catterall, and Catterall was just like, yo, wait, and just pushed him. And I was like, whoa. He pushed him with ease. You know what I'm saying? He pushed him with ease. There were some close rounds, absolutely, in that fight. But on my scorecards, Catterall was landing the more eye-catching shots. He was the more consistent guy, and he was more in control of the fight than Taylor was for the most part. Then, to make things even worse, Catterall goes to score a knockdown in the 8th round. And that's when I said, yo, I think Taylor overlooked this guy just a little bit, right? Now, Josh Taylor did come on in the second half a little bit more when he got landed. Came in, landed some more shots. He was trying to get that momentum back, man. He had to pick it up now because with a knockdown, you're good chance you're down on the card. So he was trying to pick it up. But in all honesty, man, and transparency, and I'm sure Josh Taylor, he would even say it too, he didn't look good to me, man. He looked sloppy. He was smothering his work and couldn't really get comfortable, right? And Taylor also lost the point for punching Catterall in the stomach after the bell. So the fight goes to the scorecards, and I said to myself, you know what? I think Catterall is going to win this fight. I picked Josh Taylor to win the fight, but I'm like, yeah, I got this one wrong. Catterall came and elevated his level into the ring, and I'm like, yup, this guy should win this fight. Now, obviously in boxing, we know how things go, right? He wasn't at home, so Catterall was not going to get a unanimous decision, but a split decision was fair. So I'm thinking they're going to do right by him. And then he comes back and he doesn't get the win. And they gave it to Josh Taylor. You could say what you want about the fight. There's not a lot of people that thought that Josh Taylor won that fight, but a win is a win and a loss is a loss. Josh Taylor won the fight. Catterall suffered the loss. In his last fight, he fought Dara Foley, and he looked just as good as he did when he fought Taylor. Controlled the distance, used his jab to set up his shots. That 1-2 was effective, and it was there almost every time he wanted to. You know what he is going to do. You know that 1-2 is coming, but doesn't mean you can stop it. Catterall is sharp right now. He's gotten much more accurate in the ring. He doesn't waste a whole lot of motion, right? Not a whole lot of movement. He's smooth in the ring. He's an efficient boxer. I thought he could have went to the body a little bit more against Foley, right? Might have been able to stop him and get him out of there, because he did drop him in that fight. And he lost the point in that fight as well, too. But when he knocked Foley and he lost a point in the same round, it kind of negated everything. So it was back to 9-9. Then he goes and drops him in the 9th round to score an actual knockdown. And he clean, accurate shots all night from Jack Catterall, man. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do against Linares, man. Catterall has a good chin as well. Catterall is solid. I think he's a dark horse in this division, man. And hopefully he can get that rematch against Josh Taylor for pride purposes, right? Or he can get a chance to fight for one of the belts down the road sooner than later, if he can get past Jorge Linares, of course. Now let's talk about Jorge Linares. 47 wins, 8 losses, 29 wins by way of knockout. Linares has been a while now. He's 38. This is his first fight this year. I already don't like that for him, as the body is aging. The body needs a little bit more to get going, a little bit of maintenance, a little bit more oil to get the joints fluid and moving. This is not the same Jorge Linares that stopped Javier Prieto in 4 rounds to win the WBC lightweight title. This isn't the same Linares that defended his title against Kevin Mitchell, Ivan Cano, Anthony Corolla twice, Mercito Hesta. I mean, those guys that I named, that's a nice little run of defense, defending your title right there, right? But that was a prime Jorge Linares. This is not the same guy. I remember when he stepped into the ring to fight Vasily Lomachenko, man, didn't really know how that fight was going to go. I expected Vasily to win the fight, but when the fight started, man, I was a little bit worried for Jorge Linares, because he was getting hit too cleanly, too consistently when Lomachenko decided to get his offense going, when Loma decided to be the aggressor, when Loma started to take angles and changes and hitting him with uppercuts from the left, hip uppercuts from the right, hooks from the right, hooks from the left, jabs, turning, spinning. He was getting touched up a whole lot. And it was clear that he wasn't going to be able to keep up with the movement and the speed of Vasily Lomachenko. Linares is kind of flat-footed as well, too, and he already isn't the best defensive fighter, right? But he wasn't boxing terribly in that fight at the beginning. He was trying to box, but he wasn't throwing enough punches. I thought, when you're fighting Vasily, man, you got to use your physicality to your advantage, right? He's the naturally bigger guy, and it just didn't show, right? I thought the speed and the movement of Vasily Lomachenko made it tough for him to hit the moving target, because those shots were starting to add up, and you could see he was starting to get frustrated, and he was starting to get discouraged, because he knew where Lomachenko was going to be. He knew what he wanted to do, but his body wasn't able to do it. And when his body wasn't able to do it, you can see the discouragement in his face started to show, and he just got really sloppy. And Vasily poured it on him, and he got stopped in the 10th round, but he did fight to the end. Linares always going to fight to the end. That was then. This is now. He's lost his last 3 fights. When he fought Devin Haney, he was getting bodied all night, but he did have a moment where he did have Devin Haney wobbled, but that was it. It was just a moment. He didn't capitalize on it. When he fought Zahir Abdullayev, he was winning that fight until the 12th round, and he got bombarded with shots against the ropes, and the ref saw enough, and he lost the fight. That's got to be frustrating. You're winning the fight, and then one thing happens and you lose the fight. That's boxing, right? But you got to be on your P's and Q's every single round. Then in his most recent fight, he fought Zora Amarzian. Linares got slapped up, man. He didn't look good at all. Offensively, he looked a little slow, a little hesitant, really didn't look like he knew what he wanted to do in that fight. Amarzian is a big puncher. He's got a lot of knockouts on his resume, right? But he was just having a hard time against the younger guy, against the bigger guy who just really bullied his way through Linares. So I'm really not sure how much Linares has left. I'm not sure which version of Linares that we are going to have. I believe as you age, you're obviously getting a little bit slower, but you still have that dog and that fight in you, and you can muster up one more or two more good fights. Will Linares do that? So who wins? Linares got hit way too much in his last two fights, man. I didn't like it. I think he's right for the stoppage for Jack Catterall in this one, as long as he times it up properly, right, and continues fighting like how he's been fighting, turns up the pace and the pressure a little bit sooner, right? Because Linares doesn't seem, to me, in his recent fights to have much left, man. His losses, of those 8 fights, he's been stopped 6 of those times. And I think Catterall is a bigger puncher than some of the guys that he has faced. Plus, he's coming up to 140. Jack Catterall is a natural 140 pounder. This decision is probably the safe bet, but I think Catterall comes in and I think he makes a statement and stops Linares in the latter part of the fight. I'm thinking rounds 8 to 12, somewhere there. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're enjoying the content, getting something from it, finding value in it, want to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do it. 1, like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend, engage in the community, drop some comments, engage with the community. Or I hope you consider becoming a member. We got 2 options, 2 tiers. You can send a donation on Cash App or PayPal, however you see fit. All donations go towards the growth of the channel, man. I don't take any of your comments, your words, your generosity for granted. I appreciate each of you. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.